Because of the following special broadcast, the Andy Griffith Show will not be presented this evening.
Hello, divers. Welcome to
Mysteries of the Deep.
Ooh, I gotta get that fixed. Anyway, I'm Tom Feeney, podcaster and purveyor of pop culture propaganda, searching beneath the surface of what seems to be the ordinary, the mundane, the pedestrian. This week, we dive into what was, at the time, a paradigm shift in the programming of television networks. And one network in particular. It was a purge. No, not that kind of purge. Have you ever seen a newly hired manager of a sports team, or maybe even a manager at your job, come in with all kinds of new ideas and basically just wants to get rid of everything that was done before, even if it worked? Yeah, that's the kind of purge I mean. And in the case of this episode's topic, it was called the Rural Purge. Now, you youngins might not know much about that there time period, I'll tell you what, but I reckon once I fill you in on all the details, y'all be happier than a tick and a hound dog. Okay, that's enough of that. For the first decades of commercial television's existence, the most popular genre had to be the Western. Shows that were set during the waning decades of the 19th century in the American Old West. The Western had been popular on the big screen with stars like Tom Mix, Roy Rogers, and Gene Autry. In fact, it was those old shoot-'em-up B-movies that would be the direct precursor to the TV Western. You see, back in TV's early days, stations desperately needed to fill airtime between local programming. One solution? Run old Western flicks. There were plenty of them around, and it was something both adults and kids could watch together. In fact, the first Western TV show, Hopalong Cassidy, was edited from material taken from 66. That's right, 66 Hopalong Cassidy movies. They even had a name, Hoppies.
Here he comes, here he comes. There's the trumpets, there's the drums, here he comes. Hop along, Cassidy, here he comes. Ooh.
The success of these edited-for-television westerns opened the floodgates for producers to create original programming. Early TV westerns were typically aimed at the little ones, camped out in front of their black and white sets, absorbing all that radiation while munching on sugary breakfast cereal and twirling their cap guns. Soon, though, those real Colt 45 six-shooters and Winchester rifles would be aimed right at an adult audience.
Gunsmoke, starring James Arness as Matt Dillon.
Reynolds Aluminum, the strong, lightweight, rust-proof metal that does more jobs better, presents Frontier. The material for Frontier is gathered from diaries, letters, and official records. The stories are true. Sometimes heroic, sometimes violent, sometimes gentle. All a part of our American heritage. Tonight's story is such a story.
You still friends with Ben Thompson?
What'd he do now?
Each week on ABC, the life and legend of Wyatt Earp. Starring Hugh O'Brien as Wyatt Earp, this fast-moving, hard-hitting television series tells the story of the most daring and respected peace officer America's Old West ever knew.
Where's Ben now?
I don't know. Some say he's dead, some say he's only wounded. Where'd all this happen? Out at the old Three Forks Tavern, out in the county. Bennett set up a faro game there.
Well, tell me inside.
You don't look like any doctor to me. Doctors don't get that sunburn.
We'll find out soon enough. You know, there just could be a double hanging.
I said you couldn't go up there.
Why? The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp. Be sure and see it each week on ABC.
Be sure and see The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp each week over most of these ABC stations.
Shows like Gunsmoke, Frontier, and The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp ushered in a new era for the Western. By 1959, 8 of the top 10 rated shows on television were Westerns. That's out of a mind-blowing 28 Western-themed shows in prime time of that year. The 1960s, however, would see the end of the traditional Western. Color TV, pressure from parental groups against violence, and a major shift in America's tastes and attitudes led to the disappearance of those tried-and-true morality plays. Audiences, especially in the southern states, still had a hankering for homespun entertainment, and they could find it in one place: CBS. The Tiffany Network began creating programming that showcased, and this is a quote, "naive but noble rubes from deep in the American heartland." The prime example of this was The Andy Griffith Show, with the titular star as a small-town sheriff and the quirky but lovable cast of characters living in Mayberry, North Carolina.
The Andy Griffith Show, starring Andy Griffith, with Ronnie Howard. Also starring Don Knotts.
In Mayberry, there was no civil disobedience, no protests, no outside conflict of any kind. It was meant for those who wanted a break from the deluge of news coverage of the war in Vietnam, race riots, and political corruption. This spurred an Appalachian avalanche of country-fried content on CBS, including Green Acres, The Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, and my personal favorite, Hee Haw.
Welcome to Hee Haw, starring Buck Owens and Roy Clark.
Salutes Muleshoe, Texas. Population 3,871.
Salute! Remember when you went out hunting for possum, you said you'd get one and wouldn't be long. That's 10 years ago, and I'm sitting here waiting, beginning to wonder if something went wrong. Where are you tonight? Why did you leave me here all alone? I searched the world over and I thought I'd found true love. You met another and you was gone.
These humorous homespun half hours even gave CBS an unofficial nickname: the Country Broadcasting Network. For a while, executives at CBS were grinning like a possum eating a sweet tater. But that would all change. And quickly. One CBS vice president, Michael Dan, hated these rural skewing programs. He vocally addressed this to his boss, CBS president James Aubrey. It did not go well. Those southern sitcoms were ratings winners. And ratings equals revenue. Michael Dan was out at CBS. But the writing was on the barn wall. TV was growing out of its adolescence, and viewers were looking for more mature content to better reflect a more sober and diverse society. Consider this. A popular spinoff of The Andy Griffith Show was Gomer Pyle, USMC. It starred actor Jim Nabors as the good-natured but simple-minded country boy who enlists in the U.S. Marine Corps. The comedy lasted 5 seasons from 1964 to 1969. How many times do you think the Vietnam War was mentioned during those 5 seasons? Of a show set on a military base? 0. Not once. The television landscape was due for a massive shakeup, especially at CBS with its older skewing lineup that ignored a youth culture with a lot of disposable income. That was the demographic that advertisers wanted. CBS needed to take drastic action. That action was the Rural Purge. Ex-CBS Vice President Michael Dann was replaced with a new head of programming, Fred Silverman. One actor from Green Acres was quoted as saying, "CBS canceled everything with a tree in it, including Lassie." Well, Silverman came ready with his pruning shears. Gone were Green Acres, Petticoat Junction, the Beverly Hillbillies, as well as Andy Griffith spin-offs, Gomer Pyle USMC, and Mayberry RFD. Lassie and Hee Haw went into first-run syndication and kept on plugging away. Now, there was, at the time, a not insignificant backlash against the Rural Purge, both from viewers and the producers of the shows that were unceremoniously canceled. These shows never got a proper finale or a chance to say goodbye to audiences, leaving many feeling bitter and angry over how they were treated. Leaving the Bible Belt behind, CBS began to lean heavily on more urban-oriented programming, and a man named Norman Lear. Now, if you haven't listened to our recent show about the late, great Mr. Lear, make it a point to do so. In the early 1970s, Lear brought to CBS a more relevant and much less romanticized view of middle-class America, with shows like All in the Family, The Jeffersons, Good Times, and Maude. That, coupled with other groundbreaking shows like MASH and The Mary Tyler Moore Show, revitalized and reintroduced CBS to a broader, and even more important, younger audience. Of course, none of this spelled the end of television programming aimed at viewers below the Mason-Dixon line. The CBS drama The Waltons, about a Depression-era family living in rural Virginia, premiered in 1972 and quickly became a ratings winner, lasting 9 seasons. NBC followed suit with the Ingalls family drama Little House on the Prairie. Since then, we've had many more popular shows created to appeal to the Waffle House crowd.
Never meaning no harm.
Dukes of Hazzard, Dallas, Designing Women, Friday Night Lights, Young Sheldon, and of course the animated King of the Hill are prime examples of the continuing appeal rural-themed shows have. Ultimately, the Rural Purge was a reflection of changing times and tastes. America was on the path towards a cultural revolution, and mass media, as usual, tried desperately to follow a constantly evolving landscape. But, to paraphrase Rick Blaine from Casablanca, we'll always have reruns.
Fighting the system like a true modern-day Robin Hood.
Thanks for listening. If this is the first time you've heard this podcast, check out our past episodes, available on almost all podcast providers, and subscribe so you don't miss a single one. If you like what you hear, write us a review. We'd love to know what you think. Or drop us a line at thedeepdivepodcast@gmail.com or on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter X feeds. You can find links to those in our awesome t-shirt store in the bio of our Instagram page. All clips used in this podcast are meant for educational purposes only, and not to infringe on existing copyrights. Mysteries of the Deep is part of the Deep Dive Podcast family and a production of Automaton Studios.
Well, now it's time to say goodbye to Jed and all his kin. They would like to thank you folks for kindly dropping in. You're all invited back next week to this locality to have a heaping helping of their hospitality. Hillbilly, that is. Set a spell. Take your shoes off. Y'all come back now. Here.
This has been a Filmways presentation.